Welcome to Badexen, the podcast about language, identity, and the messy beauty of how they shape us. I'm João, and in each episode, we explore how multilingual creatives and professionals navigate the world one accent at a time. So grab your coffee and let's get talking.
Hello, I'm Sophia, and today's guest is Satsuki, musician, genderless, and genreless, born and raised in Sydney and now living in Osaka. 2018, they moved to Japan to continue building their music career, but also to reconnect with a part of themselves that had always been there: language, family, heritage. Over the years, they've performed across Japan and at Taiwan's Megaport Festival, creating music that blends electronic sounds, rock influences, and pop melodies, often moving between English and Japanese within the same song. Their work circles around intimacy, emotional distance, and the honesty of relationship, sometimes the kind of honesty that feels almost too exposed. Today we talk about music, migration, queerness, busking culture in Osaka, and what it means to find your voice in a language that isn't always your first. So welcome, Satsuki. You're super excited to have you here today.
Hi. Wow, what an intro. That's so lovely. Feels like well researched, but thank you. That's such a nice introduction.
We really make our guests stand out and shine in our podcast. So yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
And you are our second Japanese.
I did see that. Yeah, I did see the other guy was an architect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
cool. So
Yes.
cool. What a cool
Yes.
concept for a podcast.
You are welcome. Here in the podcast, we try to more than experience a personal journey, your journey on languages, and that's our focus. Satsuki. One of the first questions that we thought about asking was, often you describe yourself as genderless and genderless. So yeah, actually, what does it mean to you right now, like as a musician, as a person living in Japan?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I love the word androgynous. I think that's such a good word to my sense of style, how I look, all that kind of stuff. And then, with the development of language and queer language, it's genderless, there's non-binary, there's all this kind of fluid and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. And all my friends have always been like, oh, you're not really a boy, you're not really a girl, you're just, that's always how I felt and how people have perceived me over the years.
And it's also a kind of your community. You read content about that, you approach yourself as a genderless.
I mean, the whole genreless thing for me probably highlights more of the fact that I'm quite indecisive rather than an actual genre. I love so much music. I love rock, I love pop, I love, rap and all that kind of stuff. And it's hard to really make music just one thing. And I find it really hard to describe my music. And so I do kind of go the electronic pop way. I think the whole point of my music is I want people to move with their bodies, be physical with their bodies. I think that's the point. And it's also so helpful as people to categorize things. What race are you? What class are you? What sexuality are you? It is very helpful, and it's very helpful to find community that way.
As a musician, you feel like the industry force you to fit somewhere.
Everyone asks me, what do you do? And I go, I'm a musician. And they go, what type of genre? And it's always so hard to describe. So I try to keep it that way. It's one of the few problems that I've had with kind of music industry producers or managers. They're just but you need to do one thing. I don't want to / I don't think I can.
Yeah, and we can hear those vibes in your music. Find that, melancholy, but also intimacy, and then the dancey part, and then the rock, a bunch of feelings, and I love it. But I also wanted to circle back to something that you mentioned, the word androgynous. This is something that I saw, and I love androgynous fashion people. I think it's so interesting. When I went to Japan, especially in Tokyo, you see that a lot.
Yeah.
Part of their fashion, and it's amazing, right? And it doesn't often come with the fact that maybe you're part of the queer community. That's just your fashion, right?
Yes. Yes.
Do you feel like that's different for you, or how do you explore that within Japan, that's where you're living right now?
That's a really good question. When I started to live in Japan, surprised at how aware of my own race I was. Like back in Australia, I was, I look androgynous, and so people are like, "Are you a boy or a girl?" It's really confusing for me, and they tell me directly about that. I'm Asian, so that I'm already different to the majority of Australia. I put that in quotation marks. And so when I came to Japan, I was like, oh, everyone looks like me. And I had never really experienced that before. Like in school, like maybe like half of my year was Asian, but they were mostly Chinese or Korean, and I didn't have a lot of Japanese friends around me. And then when I came to Japan, I was like, wow, people look like me, and therefore people don't discriminate based on my race, which was like a huge thing for me. In terms of kind of my gender and gender expression, a lot of people did kind of dress like me. There's a lot of female like spaces in Japan. Like I think Sophia would know, I'm not sure about Joao, but there's a lot of female carriages in trains. There's female only carriage. That started because there was a lot of sexual harassment at trains because it's such a high density, country that it would be kind of easy for men to sexually harass women and then just disappear in the population. I guess the train company, or I don't know, whoever created these, train carriages to prevent that, I guess. And so there are these very female specific places. Same with the lesbian bar that Sophia and I met at. I think the weekends are female only. Would be illegal to do in Australia, and I'm not sure if it would be the same for you guys, because that would be discriminating based on gender, which is not allowed. But Japan is a little bit more, our gender roles are so fixed in Japan. A woman is a woman, a man is a man. And so when I'm in these female spaces, I'm like, oh, no one really looks like me. Everyone's quite feminine, and they have long hair and look very girly. And there is this other subsect of women who dress a little bit more androgynous, who are kind of a bit more kind of cool, and even the men dress a little bit more androgynous as well. And so there is a little bit more kind of fluidity in that, and I feel a lot more comfortable wearing that kind of stuff here because I'm like, oh, it's more androgynous that way. Yeah, the fashion here is like so incredible and so nice. Once you come here, you're like, oh, I'm underdressed always.
Yeah, that's how I felt.
Yeah, I do love them more, and I do care about how I look. Yeah, maybe majority-wise, and maybe I don't look like other quote-unquote women, but I do find a lot of more fun here in Japan, I think. But going back to Australia, there weren't many options, I think.
Yeah. And I noticed it was, and this is only my perception, and I was there just for 2 weeks, right? But I noticed this fluidity and androgynous vibe from the guys, right? Mostly men. And I was like, are they gay? Are they not gay? And also that's like, from my side, I mean, who cares if they're gay or not? Yeah. Of course, I wanted them to be gay, but I was like, oh my God, these men are so attractive. Like, I'm gay, right? But I wanted to be with these men because they look like lesbians.
Yeah, exactly.
I need to know, do I have a chance with them?
But in the West, or, in Australia at least, groups of men won't be shopping. Going back to the queerness thing, that's the biggest problem for me, is like, I don't know who is gay because no one looks gay, because there's no stand of that here. Yeah. Because in the West or in Australia, it's so much more obvious who is and who isn't gay. Whereas in Japan, I don't know what anyone's politics is. Everyone dresses kind of cool, and so you're like, I don't know what that is. So, but unless you go to these bars, you don't really know like who is and isn't.
Super interesting points already at the beginning of this. And at home, your parents spoke Japanese, but you and your sister, you responded in English. I mean, how was that situation experience at home? And also, did you ever feel like there was kind of a distance between you and the Japanese culture when growing up?
Yeah, so both my parents are Japanese. A lot of people think I'm half, and I don't really know why. But
I thought that you were half.
Oh.
yeah, a lot of people
Okay.
think that. It's funny because I have met other fully Japanese people, but have lived overseas, have been born somewhere else. They look like that country, but with a bit of Japanese. So I guess it must be something similar with me that's happening with Australia or something. I don't know. Yeah, it's just easier to speak in English, obviously, and then it's faster to speak it that way. You know what's funny? The more that my sister and I have lived in Japan, we kind of speak half-half, and it becomes this like really just weird sentence of Japanese and English grammar. But I do that a lot more now. I never used to. But with my parents, kind of speak it to him in English, which seems like more natural to me. Whereas with my mum, it is kind of half-half. The more that I lived in Japan, I do speak to her more in Japanese. But when I was growing up there, it was definitely pretty much 100% English. And she would kind of speak to me maybe half-half, but I think Japanese is much easier for her. So that's how we would kind of communicate. And so when I came here for the first time, I was really surprised at how bad my Japanese was. I was like, I can understand everything that this person is saying, but I couldn't respond.
But was bad because of grammar, but was bad because you could not understand people that you were on your day-to-day?
I didn't have the words to describe anything.
Okay, like vocabulary wise?
Yeah,
Or?
vocabulary, yeah, definitely. Like, especially formal language in Japanese is quite different. I mean, in English, it's just tone, right? If you want to be polite to someone, you just have to have a particular tone. Otherwise, language is pretty similar. Whereas in, Japanese, I never learned formal language because I wasn't speaking to anyone who was not my family or who was not my family friend. So when I was kind of first interacting with that, I was like, oh, I don't know how to say this like politely. And so I would just like have a short circuit in my brain and like not be able to say anything.
For how long you were like struggling with this, not understanding Japanese, not getting what you wanted?
I wasn't interacting with a lot because when I came here, I didn't have any friends or anything. Gradually built my community. The people that I first spoke to that I'm still friends with now, they're like, yeah, you had like an accent. Like you had a kind of English accent on top of a Japanese accent. Sorry, when you were speaking Japanese. It was a little bit like, it wasn't very fluid. But yeah, Japanese people are still impressed. They're like, how did you pick it up so easily? And I was like, I knew everything. I just didn't know how to say it in a particular way. Like I had to learn that language. And I'm still not really 100%. I think maybe I would understand maybe 70 to 75%. There are just like particular words that I just don't know.
But switching between English and Japanese, I think, is a totally different experience.
It's a different level because they do not resemble at all.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't speak German, but there's going to be but if you speak English, there's going to be like a word or something that you can connect, in the conversation. And these are completely different languages. They do not connect except for like foreign words that the Japanese adapt, like biru, or I know biru because that's like bière,
that's what
beer,
right.
in French and English, right? So managing
sure,
that exercise in your brain.
It is good exercise. I mean, also grammatically, it's just so different because generally the verb comes last in Japanese,
So like
which doesn't happen a lot. I think.
Are there any other Asian languages that could relate to the Japanese? Like, for example, French with Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, because they all come from this Latin base. Does this happen as well with Japanese or not at all?
I guess reading-wise, Chinese and Japanese you could kind of a little bit, but their characters is also very different. You could have the same characters in Chinese and Japanese and they could mean kind of very different things. Korean has a few like words when I'm like watching K-dramas, I'm like, oh, that's the same. But other than that, no, not really, I don't think. Yeah. Very unhelpful language. You can only speak Japanese in Japan.
And Satsuki, you mentioned like that you had a neckling feeling during your university. And actually what was concretely that feeling was getting lost in translation, that you were not fully immersed in integrated? What was that? Can you describe that?
I really wonder what the real trigger was. I was like, oh, this feels like such a waste. Like, my mum would tell me a lot of things about Japan, and she would be like, oh, you can't do this because in the culture, she's like a bit of a history buff, and she cares a lot about manners and, like, you know, you have to do this and traditions and stuff, and she would tell me these things, and it would kind of go in one ear out the other, because I was like, I don't know how to retain this information. The more she was telling me these things throughout the years, I was like, this feels like a waste. This is going to end with me and my sister, and that feels like such a waste of culture and tradition. Because I'm gay, I'm not going to have kids. My sister doesn't have kids at the moment. I don't think the Minoda, like, families, sorry, that's my last name, the Minoda family is supposed to end like this. Like, there was this, like, weird, like, thing of not even legacy. I was just like, I need to know so I can tell someone when I'm older, I think. Yeah, my sister was already in Japan, and she loved Japan and she loved the culture of it, and I just didn't really get it. Like, there was nothing really appealing about it to me. Just before uni, I think, I really got into this, like, girl group that my uncle was really into as well, called Perfume. And up until then, I had never really had, like, a bias or, like, a stan. Like, but when I got into Perfume, I was like, oh, this is cool. And the culture surrounding kind of stan culture is also really fun and really cool. Concerts in Japan for the first time, and I was like, whoa, this is weird. I remember going to a festival and no one was taking videos and photos because you're not allowed. Everyone was silent. I could hear the band tune on stage. I was like, this is weird. I was like, I don't like this. But everyone was really into it. And then I also experienced Perfume, who was playing at a much bigger arena. And they were also silent. And I was like, this is weird. Like, what? Like, how is this possible? Like, when a bar or whatever is over, like, 10 people, it's never silent in Australia. Yeah. Like, people are talking, people are, you know, drinking, they're ordering at the bar, you know, it's a socializing event, whereas in Japan it's not. It's watching live music.
So they are really present.
Yeah,
like they are really there.
It's a collective experience. It's like, I'll enjoy this, you'll enjoy this, if we all, you know, collectively understand that we're trying to enjoy this together. Whereas in the West, it's like, I'm going to enjoy how I want to enjoy it. I'm with my friends. I'm going to chat up. I'm going to ask how their weekend was, ask how their week was, all in one inclusion. Whereas Japan, they're going for one thing, and it's to enjoy music. Yeah, I think those were the kind of two main reasons of, like, I need to be immersed in my culture. This is such a waste. And music industry in Japan is so, so interesting.
And people don't sing the lyrics?
No. So everyone can enjoy how they want to enjoy. Yeah, people don't really sing along unless there is a sing-along part, you know.
The artist has invite you to sing.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a more collaborative. You have to kind of invite people in, give permission.
Like to push a bit. Like
because Japanese people are also very shy. Give them instructions, otherwise they won't kind of move freely.
So it's interesting how in Japan it's like respectful all the way around, right? And how would you describe, now that we're talking about music and everything, maybe we've been talking, I mean, you've mentioned some, but other, you know, differences between the music industry in Japan and Australia? I mean, besides the concert experience.
You know what? My favorite part of Japan is kind of the back end stuff, which is like the staff that surrounds music venues and stuff like that. Because in Australia, all the sound guys were all these like grumpy old guys who it felt like they didn't want to be there. They had to do their job. I remember one time like being like, oh, can we sound check soon? And he was like, well, I got to eat. And I was like, but can we sound check kind of thing? Like it was just so like, why aren't you doing your job? Like it was really weird, but it's so much more like professional here which is like such a strange thing to say. I don't know, everyone's just like so friendly and nice, and no one has an ego, and it's like really, really nice. Like even the musicians here that I'm surrounded by, like, you know, musicians have a stereotype of being a bit like egotistical, a bit narcissistic or whatever, but everyone's like just so nice here. And I used to be able to just like live off busking. I just busked on the weekend and I made good money.
I think we could explain what mean busking, because I'm not sure that all our listeners know the meaning, because me myself, I had to research for it online.
Yeah, I need to look up where that came from. But it's street performance, right? So if you're, you know, doing circus stuff or like singing or whatever, comedy or whatever, I think it's just generally called busking. It's not very common in Japan because it's just, we have no space to do it. You don't really make a lot of money doing it either. It's kind of just to put your name out there, I guess, sometimes. Just getting strangers to look up your Instagram or whatever. Whereas for me in Australia was a lot more just to make money, to be honest.
Yeah. And for example, Satsuki, talking in the context in Japan, like for someone who is bilingual, that I'm quite aware that in Japan not everyone speaks English.
Yes.
Does in any moment was kind of an advantage for you as a musician, especially as a musician, that you had to approach crowds, for example? You reach other communities, for example, like an example to help you.
All my songs at the start were all English, and so that was kind of the opposite of it was kind of alienating for Japanese people. They were like, oh, I don't know what they're saying. And so some people were kind of very, if Japanese people listen to foreign music, they are quite intrigued by my music, which is really nice. But if they're kind of very strictly listening to Japanese music, my music doesn't appeal to them, which is totally fine. It did give me like a big push of putting Japanese lyrics into my songs, because at the start I wasn't very confident. I was like, I can barely speak in Japanese, let alone write lyrics in Japanese, which is like a whole nother thing. But I kind of got over it, kind of got over my ego of like, whatever, it can sound a bit weird to Japanese people. Maybe it's grammatically weird, or like maybe it's not something that they would kind of regularly say. But it did, yeah, I do have Japanese in my lyrics now, which is nice. I think it kind of, you know, there are words that you can't say in a particular language, and so it's another way to express myself, which is great. But yeah, having kind of like English also under my belt is really helpful in Japan. And all the Japanese people are like, oh, it's so cool that you speak English. And I'm like, yeah, it's really like, it's just helpful, really. I've also had to like translate a few things for my Japanese musician friends. Like they would put English into their music and then be like, does this make sense? And I'm like, I'd have to kind of maybe grammatically kind of change a few words or suggest another word, which is funny because like I did my university thesis on this, of like why Japanese people use English in their music when they don't really have to.
Wow.
Japanese people are so very precious and protective about their lyrics. Like they're very like, when you watch music shows in Japan, they all have lyrics underneath them. So people being like, you know, maybe if you can't hear a particular lyric, you can still read it and be like, okay, this is what they're trying to say with their song. They have such heavy emphasis and importance on lyrics in Japanese, and then they use English that doesn't make sense. Japanese people who don't know English, they don't know what it means. And then for people who can understand English, go, well, that doesn't mean anything. You're trying to convey something, but it's not doing anything because it doesn't make sense. What I concluded was it just looks cool, which is fine. But I've had people
having music in English, it's cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
It sounds cool always. Yeah.
But other than that, it's been a very helpful experience being like bilingual here, because yes, a lot of Japanese people don't really speak English. I think, I mean, Sophia, maybe in your experience, it was kind of maybe half-half, like maybe they could speak a little bit or have a few words to get by, but...
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I realized, and when, you know, family members ask me, oh, how was the trip? Like, I'm going, what advice do you have? And it's like, learn basic Japanese. Like,
yeah.
Good morning, thank you, excuse me, you know, sorry, etc. Very basic, because you're gonna need it. Even in restaurants, like the menus were in Japanese. So we really used a lot of the Google Translate and we will translate in the moment.
For sure.
But it was also nice. I loved it, because that really makes you immerse in the culture and everything. So it was really, really nice. You can understand each other easily, besides using the apps, there are other ways to, communicate by gesture or, just pointing out the things. Of course, you would have to be tolerant and understand that not everybody was going to speak Japanese, right? I mean, English. So, yeah, but I really love that. And it pushes you to adapt and to really understand the culture and experience the country differently, for sure.
I don't think that learning English is a necessity in Japan because you're in Japan. You're going to speak Japanese. Because Japan's like an island and we're not really connected to any other countries, there is this kind of like isolating thing about Japan. And I think there is a benefit just learning a different language other than yours. But I think that will just expand your life, your culture, and there'll be something to compare it to, like even to Australians. I mean, Australia is also an island, huge, that is not connected to anywhere. But there is also a lot of like immigrants in in Australia, and so a lot of my friends are bilingual or trilingual or whatever. But I do have a lot of friends who don't speak another language,
and that's okay.
And that's okay. Expands so much of your own like primary like vocabulary as well, and you can understand so much culture through language.
Yes, and especially for you, Satsuki, that you are a musician, you have a band, and networking is very important for you, and also to reach other queer communities, let's say, that are like beneficial for you as a person, and is an asset on your side. Yeah, you would not meet Sophia without the English.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's as simple as that.
Yes, exactly. Like meeting strangers is like such a lovely thing. Like I forgot how good that feels, and it's such a rare experience that I have in Japan because we're such a polite or respectful or private people that it's really hard to like strike up a conversation with a stranger, but it's so easy in Australia. Osaka is a little bit more like friendlier and more talkative. So it's a little bit different here, but striking up a conversation, getting someone's Instagram, like knowing that, like, seeing their story, being able to DM them, that's not really a possibility here in Japan. That's really like lonely and isolating thing, I think, here, because people are just so like private.
They like also to keep private life as a safe space, no?
Yes.
Or
I barely know about my Japanese friends, like families or like their home situation or, their career or like their marriage prospects or like all these things that I would just, I would ask a stranger. I can't ask to maybe some of my close Japanese friends because it's like not something you ask. It's kind of none of your business.
Right.
But then it's not a question, but then you know where is your limits. I think Japanese people knows where are the limits of the conversations and where the freedom ends.
Yes. It's interesting. I was like,
but also what do you talk about and what can you ask, right? Can you ask like what music they like, I guess?
That's a good starting point. Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't met a Japanese friend in so long that I'm like, what do I ask? Like what are you into rather than what you are as a person? Like what are you? It's less so of that and what do you like?
Basically saying that before you meet Japanese, you have to kind of rethink which type of questions you will ask him when you will meet him in person. Somehow, this of course is an exaggeration from my side, but you have awkward moment, and that's also okay.
A lot of awkward moments. Although, like, my background is already kind of interesting enough for them, like the fact that I've been born in another country and can speak another language, that's kind of enough to kind of propel
that's already
forward.
For a long conversation. And
I
think
for sure. And
I get the feeling, yeah, because sometimes I would want to ask so many things. But speaking about intimacy, we wanted to ask you also, when you're writing music, do you have a language that feels more vulnerable than the other? And have you ever written something in one language that you couldn't say in the other, like a feeling or something specific?
I think I feel more vulnerable in Japanese only because I'm like a little bit self-conscious of like does this make sense? Like, because I usually kind of maybe say it in English and then try and translate it into Japanese, and I'm like, I wonder if this makes sense. And so it does feel a bit more vulnerable of also being like understood by the audience that I'm performing to. Like, I mean, like my song "Miss You," I think is like a good example of that, because we don't really have a word for that in Japanese. I can't say like I miss you to my Japanese friends. I always have to be like, oh, I want to see you. Like you say, I feel lonely, or like I feel like this. Like I don't really say I miss you. Same with I love you. It's like such an intense like phrase to say. Whereas like I say it to everyone in whoever speaks English, like, you know, bye, I love you. Like that's so casual. Whereas like saying I love you to a Japanese friend, like it doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that I Miss You song. I really love it, by the way.
Thank you.
There are certain parts where you add, you know, the words. So that's why we were curious, like, is it because you can't find that translation, or because it makes sense?
I mean, a lot of my songs were about breakups, but I've been with my girlfriend for like 8 years now, so there's no breakup songs, unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess. They're more about kind of like friendships, and you could still interpret them as kind of love stories or something like that. Like even in my day-to-day life, trying to express love for my Japanese friends is really difficult, and I still don't really know what the language of that is. And even like hugging and stuff like that's really not normal here. It's weird.
A problem to become yourself somehow.
Yeah, it's I am a different person in Japanese and in Japan. I've just had to kind of adjust myself to fit into the culture, I think. So. But
you are really aware of it.
Yeah, I am. It's still my voice. I'm a lot less. I'm a lot more reserved here, that's for sure. Trying to find that kind of balance within lyrics is also like quite difficult, I think.
We are coming to the end of the episode, Satsuki.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, at the end of each episode, we ask what is which word or proverb in your native language that you wish that the world of everyone could understand.
So my word was gaman, which is, I think, like encapsulates Japanese people to a T. If you Google translate it, it says patience, which is like not at all what it is. It's more endurance and tolerance. Like if you put it contextually, like you would say, like, oh, I need to pee, but I'm just gonna hold it. Like that you would say gaman there. You would have to like, you know, hold it. Or I want to spend money on this thing, but I'm going to gaman. I'm gonna resist, kind of thing. It is patience in a way, but it's also to do with to try and endure something, to try and tolerate something. And when I looked it up, it was actually kind of, I think it was a Buddhism kind of a scripture or a teaching, I guess, of being able to kind of resist and finding a lot of pride in that. Maybe like almost like a meditation or a type of way, or a way of life, or a way of kind of keeping still and keeping grounded, I guess, to endure and to tolerate and to be patient with the world, your life, the way around. That's my word, gaman.
Totally different than what we thought.
Okay,
yes.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. And Sophia mentioned actually that we had the idea that play like a fragment of a music to close a bit with the episode, Satsuki?
For sure. Yeah, no, we can do that.
I don't know if it's like putting you on the spot.
No, it's okay. Joao did ask me last time. I don't know.
Let me see. Yeah.
This is my song Stars in This City. Hope you enjoy.
Wow.
We are
amazing.
really privileged. What a privilege.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
A private concert. Ooh,
Yeah.
No, thank you for letting me. No, I didn't know that if it would even work, but thank you so much.
Yeah, it's amazing. Thank you. So good to see it, live, because I love your music. It makes me in such a good mood and makes me want to, be so active, and kind of gives me this rush of creativity. So when I'm like uninspired, I'm just playing your music and it's like, yes, I can conquer anything.
If you enjoyed this conversation, follow Bad Accent on Instagram and LinkedIn for more multilingual stories. And remember, own your voice, celebrate your accent. Until next time.